Presents The Quest for Glory, featuring heavyweight contender Riddick Bowe versus Everett Bigfoot Martin. A must-win for the undefeated Bowe if he is going to stay at the head of the line for a shot at the World Heavyweight title. In a true crossroads fight, former two-time champion Juan LaPorte collides with Olympic medalist Hector Lopez. The winner takes a giant step forward in his quest for the lightweight championship of the world. And in our main event, two-time champion and current WBA cruiserweight title holder Bobby Chez risked his belt against former light heavyweight champion Donnie Golden Boy Lalonde. And you are looking live at the Riviera Hotel and Casino, where the boxing fans continue to come in and get ready for a night of boxing. Good evening, everyone. I'm Hugh Millay, and welcome to the Riviera Hotel and Casino here in Las Vegas, where for the first time in 6 years, World Championship Boxing returns. Tonight, it's the Quest for Glory, the WBA Light Heavyweight Championship. Bobby Chez, the champion, going 12 rounds with Donnie Golden Boy Lalonde. We're very excited about that. The Riv comes back in style. Also on the card, some future champions, Riddick Bowe, Hector Lopez, and Donald Stokes. Some past champions like Lalonde and Juan LaPorte and Dwight Muhammad Kawi. We got something for everyone here in the next 3 hours. And help me analyze the action tonight, the man to my left by way of Bozeman, Montana, one of the true authorities in the sport of boxing. We're speaking, of course, of Al Bernstein. And now let's jump right into one of our main events, and that, of course, is a lightweight tussle between Juan LaPorte and Hector Lopez. Juan LaPorte's been around a long time.
Seems like forever, doesn't it? But he's only 32 years old. He dates back to fighting champions like Salvador Sanchez, Wilfredo Gomez, and of more recent vintage, Julio Cesar Chavez. He's still a good boxer, even at 32, but how much does he have left? And is this his last hurrah? For Hector Lopez, a young man who won the silver medal for Mexico in the Olympics, had some trouble after a good start in his pro career, was incarcerated, has come back now fighting in California. And he is a boxer who still believes he has enough to win a world title.
And very intent on taking out LaPorte. Nobody's ever knocked out Juan LaPorte. Hector says he wants to do it tonight. Also on the bout tonight is, of course, Riddick Bowe, ranked in the top 5 by all the boxing governing bodies, and a gentleman who is 29-0 and says he wants the world title, but he has to be patient.
He's been kind of marking time, fighting some people like the man he's fighting tonight, Everett Bigfoot Martin. Bowe looks like he is ticketed for a fight with Pierre Kotzer, and then probably a chance against Evander Holyfield if he should win that. First, he's got to get by Everett Bigfoot Martin tonight, and I think the key is he wants to be impressive, not just win. Martin, after all, is a man who just fought Michael Moore and actually had Moore down. So a lot will depend on how well Bowe looks tonight.
That's 10 rounders. Big Daddy and Bigfoot in a big matchup. To my right, a gentleman who hosts his own nationally syndicated radio show, Pedro Fernandez, and Pedro will be keeping score for us here at ringside here at the Rib. We're excited about that, and let's talk about the main event. Bobby Chez, a long career, up and down, and he's back up.
12 years ago, he turned pro. He was one of NBC's matinee idols. I mean, the kid really had it. Schoolboy, he had all the good looks, all the charm, won a world title, had his father commit suicide, then he came back and he won the WBA cruiserweight title. He's a 9-5 favorite tonight. And in my mind, he knocks Donnie Lalonde out tonight, about the 9th round.
Okay, thank you, Pedro. And by the way, Bobby puts a little bit of his own money on that 9-5. I can guarantee you that. Also, Donnie Lalonde will be offering the competition. Donnie, a gentleman who got far more acclaim for his one loss to Sugar Ray Leonard than he did for any of his 35 wins. A big kid and coming back, hopefully a more complete boxer.
That's ironic, too, because when he was light heavyweight champion, he had a lot of power. And for a while there, looked like he might rule that division. He hopes that that power in the right hand is going to be enough to knock out Bobby Chez, because he'll need to do that tonight probably to win this fight. He's going to have to hurt Chez with that right hand.
We'll have to see. Donnie Golden Boy Lalonde, of course, Bobby Chez. That is the Quest for Glory. That is our main event, but we're set to go here at the Riv, and our first fight is a 10-rounder. It's the lightweights. It's Juan LaPorte and Hector Lopez. Hector Lopez, age 25, as Al mentioned, a silver medalist in the 1984 LA Olympics. He talked about his big matchup with Juan LaPorte. Today's sports pages are filled with comeback stories. Athletes come back from injuries. Others come back from retirement. Lightweight Hector Lopez is a comeback story with a twist. This lightweight is on the comeback trail after spending the better part of 3 years in prison for assault.
I was ranked #1 in the world prior to entering my prison sentence, and I got sentenced to 4 years in prison. So, that gave me time to think, like, what am I going to do, And sometimes, there's been cases where you go in and if you don't follow the program, you could end up getting more time. But I did pretty good. You know, I adjusted. You know, it's hard to adjust because there's a. See, you can't go by what's out here. What's out here it's a different world, and when you're in there, it's just what's in front of you. You know, doesn't look like much. You know, you have a yard or whatever. You have, you know, little facility, but whatever the facility is, that's your little world. I started to see that I could make it out, so I started programming and doing my little workouts. You know, keep my routine going every day, and then each time I used to started running, and when I would run every day, each time I would run, it would seem like I'd get that much closer to the gate.
While Lopez's boxing career was put on hold while behind bars, his fighting days were just beginning. Confrontations are part of prison life, and at 5'7", 150 pounds, Hector had to use every trick in the book.
I would try to just get off, like if they get close enough with a headbutt, because they don't expect that. You know, they would expect a punch. You know, so usually a headbutt right to the nose will really get things moving.
If Mike Tyson was sitting right here, what would you tell him as he prepares to go behind bars like you did for 2.5 years to somehow get him set to handle the situation in prison?
He's done time when he was young. You know, he knows basically about it, but stay focused. Try to just keep your mind focused and keep going.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. It ain't over. It's just the beginning. Stay focused. Try to just keep your mind focused and keep going.
Don't give up.
Don't give up. It ain't over. It's just the beginning.
Lopez takes on his biggest challenge since he began his comeback when he takes on the legendary Juan LaPorte.
I think LaPorte's a good fighter. I take nothing from him. He's fought some of the greatest champions, like he fought Sanchez, he fought Chavez, won 12 rounds. Chavez gave him a good fight, and what have you. You know, I have nothing against him personally, but it is a major fight for me, and it's I hopefully try to get a title shot this year, so I know that I want to win.
There is Hector Lopez. Up next, of course, 32-year-old Juan LaPorte has been fighting for some 3 decades. As we get an up-close and personal look at Hector Lopez in his illustrious career, which spans over 3 decades. He has taken on the likes of Salvador Sanchez, Julio Cesar Chavez, Mario Miranda, Azuma Nelson. Juan LaPorte says he has been in with the best, and tonight as he takes on the up-and-coming Hector Lopez, he feels prepared and ready to go after a lightweight championship.
Hector Lopez, I don't know much about him. I understand that he went in the Olympics. He got a silver medal or something from Mexico. I hear he's a good fighter. What I think he's going to come and try to do is try to outbeat me by points, and I don't think he has a chance.
A confident Juan LaPorte, 32 years of age, Al, and this guy has been in with the greats of the featherweight division.
When you look down the list of his opponents, it is like a history lesson in that division.
Let's go up to Jimmy Lennon for the intros of our first bout.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to the beautiful Riviera Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, as Momentum Enterprises, in association with Banner Promotions, presents this junior welterweight feature attraction scheduled for 10 rounds of boxing. Now presenting the judges as appointed by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Chuck Jumpa, Bill Graham, and Paul Smith. And the referee in charge of this bout, he will be giving instructions after the introductions, Carlos Padilla. All right, fans, here we go. Introducing to you first on my left. He is fighting out of the red corner. He enters the ring with black trunks, gold trim. He is originally from Tepito, Mexico, now fighting out of the great city of Los Angeles. He weighed in at 138 pounds with a fine record of 21 wins, only 1 defeat, 9 wins by way of knockout. He is the 1984 Olympic silver medalist. Please welcome Hector El Torero Lopez. And his opponent across the ring. On my right, fighting out of the blue corner in this 10-round junior welterweight bout, he is wearing white trunks with red trim. He is fighting out of Brooklyn, New York, by way of Guayama, Puerto Rico. He weighed in at 139 pounds and a record of 37 wins, 11 losses, 19 wins by way of knockout. Welcome the former WBC featherweight champion of the world, Juan LaPorte. Once again, here's your referee in charge, Carlos Padilla.
Too much grease. Don't put too much grease, okay? The face. The face. Okay. Okay, you will already give instructions in your respective dressing room. Any question? Okay, seconds come out, Friday.
We take a peek at the tail of the tape, and you take a look at the fact that Juan LaPorte, obviously the older fighter, and a height advantage for Hector Lopez, but the reach is about the same. Edge for Lopez, but I think LaPorte, that won't be a big factor.
Round one scheduled 10-rounder, and they're ready to go. LaPorte comes out and throws a big left hook to get things going here at the Riv on a Friday night. Hugh Millay, Al Bernstein at ringside. We get a look at a gentleman who has been in with the absolute best, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Juan LaPorte. His resume reads like a boxing Hall of Fame. We'll see if he can continue to stay on top of the sport. Many people feel that this could be one of his last hurrahs should he come up short in tonight's venture against Hector Lopez. Lopez, as we mentioned, incarcerated for 29 months for an assault, and he is now back out donning new tattoos. They were not there prior to his days behind bars, and as you can see, we'll get some close-ups during the course of the action.
He has been pretty effective in his comeback fights, winning a couple since he got out of prison, fighting for the 10 Goose stable in California. And he has been what he was before you, which is a pretty good boxer, using lots of hand speed and movement, and of course he'll want to do that against LaPorte, who has always been a big power puncher but may have lost a little of his speed.
And is coming up a couple weight classes. His most effective weight, of course, featherweight at 126. That's when he had his big fights with Sanchez back in 80 and Chavez back in the late 80s. And we feel at 135 pounds, we'll have to see if he still has his punching power. And so far, he seems to be really planting down on his shots right now against Hector Lopez.
Something to remember is Lopez also going up, used to be a featherweight. So both these men at a much higher weight than we had seen them before. And
Hector not a knockout puncher prior to his days of incarceration, but he said he worked out a lot. He was actually walking around in prison, he said, in the high 150s, and did put on he feels some very good muscle during the time he spent there, so it wasn't totally wasted time. He also said he became a little more thoughtful person, and a gentleman who's kind of in a hurry. I think this is a pretty big step for him, only 6 months back, Al.
They must feel that LaPorte does not have that much left. And so far here in round one, what Lopez has been trying to do is dictate the action, which will turn it into a chess game with LaPorte, where he's not going to get nailed with something big, and it will give Juan a lot to think about it.
Juan LaPorte, as we said, 32 years of age, but has been in some tremendous wars, about 7 15-rounders, about 3 or 4 12-rounders, and had taken some terrific beatings at the hands of Sanchez and Chavez, and he had a great fight with Mario Miranda. So this is a guy who will not go down. He has never been stopped, and he's quite proud of that fact, and he told me that don't expect Mr. Lopez to stop me either, so we could be looking at that. Big shot by LaPorte. Lopez goes down, a big right hand.
He was hurt by that, really only his conditioning kept him from actually going down fully.
And he's still not all there, Al. He's kind of fighting on instinct right now.
Well, LaPorte has a good right hand, always has, and that's what they didn't want to have happen with Hector Lopez, get nailed early. His legs are still not there, and LaPorte doing what he always did in the old days, not following up as much as he should.
A big round for Juan LaPorte. Maybe a little bit of controversy in the aspect, and we'll check this out in replay, going down on one knee, or it looked that way from our vantage point.
Well, it was hard to tell. They did not call a knockdown by Carlos Padilla, and so I'm sure we'll have a chance to look at it, and we'll make up our own mind. Let's listen in.
Sneaky one hand. Head movement, side to side.
Here we see it, the right hand by LaPorte. The left very low by Lopez. Inconclusive there to see whether his knee actually did touch. But from this angle, we'll get a better idea. There's the right hand. And you are absolutely right, because his right knee did touch, and that should have been a knockdown. I missed it in the live call, and you caught it.
It's hard to criticize a gentleman with the credentials of Carlos Padilla, but He might have missed that one. That was very quick.
That was pretty obvious. Not to me and Carlos, but apparently to you. Can't be obvious to everybody.
And we'll have to see how the judges score that. Most knockdowns usually translate into a 10-8, and we'll have to see if someone did that.
I would think they would not, though, because if it's not called a knockdown, they could make it a 10-8 round, but I have a feeling probably not because it wasn't called a knockdown.
Round 2, scheduled 10-rounder. Big round for the veteran 32-year-old Juan LaPorte, former WBC featherweight champion, a gentleman who always seems to be in fighting shape. His record is not as illustrious as it was in the past, but comes in with credentials that any boxer would love to have. And Lopez is a gentleman who he feels by the end of the year he could be contending for a what now is a wide open lightweight division.
You know what's ironic about what transpired in that first round? Very reminiscent of things that happened to LaPorte in his heyday. He would get somebody hurt and not really follow up as much as he should. And that happened there with Hector Lopez. I really think he had Lopez in serious trouble.
Lopez fighting on instinct with about 40 seconds to go in there in round 1, and Juan did not take advantage of that opportunity, and he might remember that later in the fight.
The other thing about that knockdown was that Lopez left his left jab out there, let it languish very low, and then LaPorte was able to get the right hand in. We'll have to watch for that again.
Juan LaPorte began his career back in 1977 in Hamilton, Ohio, the bastion of boxing in Ohio, and coming right up the road from my hometown. But now Lopez looking like he's zeroing in just a little bit with his shots. The right landed, and he's trying to do a little more dancing.
Oh, watch your head, watch your head.
Round number 2, and Juan LaPorte very intent after having a very strong first round, and Lopez is trying to figure things out here. I think LaPorte might have more left than many people thought, at least early on.
Lopez really having a hard time setting himself to land punches. He's moving and punching at the same time, and that was indicative of the way he fought as a young pro, but it's even more so now.
Coming in, as we said, with a mark of 37-11, but most of those losses in the latter portion of his career. Lopez trying to zero in, and the crowd trying to get into it. Appears that Lopez will do most of his best work from outside, and looks like LaPorte still showing some pretty decent hand speed here at 138.
LaPorte is starting to put a few combinations together, and that's important for him because while he's got the one-punch power, if he can punch in combination, he'll give Hector Lopez a lot of trouble tonight.
He said Hector Lopez coming back in December, then fighting again fought again in January, so he's had about a 4-month layoff and pretty much waiting for things to come back to him, shake off the ring rust, but obviously 10 goose in his handlers feel very strongly that he is ready for Juan LaPorte. Round number 2 in the books is Hector Lopez heads back to his corner. We're going to check in on Hector's corner.
My way.
Huh?
Put a little, keep your left hand up. Okay?
You didn't do nothing?
I know, but he counter punches you.
Not this one.
He tried counter punches.
One more.
LaPorte has always had a good uppercut, and there was a good example of one coming in. Now, normally when you throw it from that far out, you're going to get hit with a counter right hand. Lopez was not able to do that, and LaPorte landed a good shot.
You got to move your hands. Move your hands, or next time I knock the shot you. I'm going to stick your hands.
I think Emil Griffith is forceful in that corner.
It's only round 2 out. He's already in 9-round form.
Administering a beating to LaPorte in the corner.
Former middleweight champion Emil Griffith working the corner and obviously trying to get Mr. LaPorte's attention, and I got a feeling he got that. It was a nice double shot there. That will not count with the judges. Round number 3, scheduled 10-rounder. Lopez in the black trunks, gold trim, and LaPorte white trunks, red trim. And so far it has been the veteran LaPorte looking far more effective as Lopez lands an overhand right, slightly picked off by the left glove of LaPorte.
Hector Lopez is going to have to settle down and land something big here. At least something with some authority so that Juan LaPorte will respect his power a little bit more. By the way, in the corner of Hector Lopez was Harry Kazanjian, who was the first boxer that 10 Goose Boxing ever had, and now he's managing Hector Lopez, so it's kind of a full circle.
The 10 Goose story.
The never-ending saga.
Round number 3 as we get a look at LaPorte and Lopez trying to figure the veteran out, and has shown flashes, but nothing consistent through a 3-minute period.
Of course, we saw Emil Griffith in the corner in the last round, and LaPorte and his uncle Murphy Griffith, who we saw training Ray Mancini, is in the house here tonight.
As Hector Lopez had said before the fight, with the lightweight division so wide open, he had been mentioned of a possible vacated title shot with Jorge Paez, and that is something that could probably work quite nicely, but Juan LaPorte also has those kind of thoughts in his mind. So a big crossroads fight for both fighters right now.
Pernell Whitaker cast a big shadow over that division now that he's gone. Now, see, Carlos Padilla is the kind of referee who doesn't step in and break fighters. He tells them mostly, and a lot of guys get in shots on what other fighters would perceive to be breaks.
Lopez landing more shots, and now LaPorte trading with him right there at center ring.
I'll tell you what, though, a lot of those shots by Lopez hitting glove, and the one thing that LaPorte does is throw those good short punches on the inside, and he's doing it now.
Watch the head, LaPorte. Watch your head.
Juan, Puerto Rico native, but now living in Brooklyn. And Hector Lopez making his home in. Big body shot by Lopez and getting the attention of the crowd. You could hear that ringside.
He has found something here because he threw about 4 body shots. You know what? He has now found a ticket, a way to attack LaPorte. He's not been able to hit him in the head, but he's landed about 5 great body shots.
A lot of infighting here. LaPorte likes that, but Lopez looks like he's getting the better of it here in round number 3. Big shots by LaPorte, trading beautifully at centering both fighters. Both fighters far more offensive-minded than I thought they'd be. I know LaPorte is, but Lopez is trading quite nicely here in round number 3, too.
That overhand right is getting there for LaPorte, and the thing is, Lopez can afford to do that if he does it and then gets out, but he can't get it with too many shots on the inside by LaPorte. But you know what, if he takes these punches from Juan to this point, he may be all right in this bout.
That's what he might be thinking. As we said, LaPorte fought most effectively at 126 pounds. He's 12 pounds over that tonight, but he still feels that he can be a force in the lightweight division. As we can look at the corner of LaPorte.
Move your head and shoulder to me.
The infighting in this match has been really excellent, especially in the last round. There is LaPorte landing those quick shots inside, getting mostly the better of it. And it's not that Lopez wasn't landing, as you see, but his punch is not quite as forceful. And from another angle, it is just as painful for Hector Lopez. The overhand right getting there.
Wonderful, wonderful fighting there in round number 3. By way, well, in a way, the best round of the fight right there, as both gentlemen really zeroing in. Hector Lopez, as we said, third fight back on the comeback trail, and for Juan LaPorte, this is fight number 49, covering 15 years of outstanding boxing. Center ring, both fighters, and then Lopez coming in with an overhand right.
Let go.
You know, Lopez has been landing the left hook to the body, and if he doubles with it to the body and the head, I think he might start finding LaPorte's head a little bit. So there was the hook to the body. Now, had he come up with it to the head, he might have gotten there.
Hector Lopez, as we said, not going down in the first round, but we saw him touch his knee, and LaPorte winning early portion. Lopez trying to use maybe just a little strength right now.
And will that lack of a knockdown call come back to haunt Juan LaPorte?
Juan LaPorte showing a lot here in round number 4.
The interesting thing here is Hector Lopez really pretty much choosing to fight LaPorte on the inside. And going into this fight, you would think his fight would be on the outside, and yet he's not doing that badly in there. I mean, all things considered, considering he's not an inside fighter.
Juan LaPorte getting those uppercuts and landing them. And youth will be on Lopez's side later in this fight, but big uppercuts by Lopez, and I think LaPorte, check that. I think if as you mentioned, Al, the Lopez corner had their druthers, I think they'd be doing most of his work from outside.
Yeah, and yet, ironically, he's been very effective in there. Sometimes you go into a match and you would think you'd be more effective one way, but once you get in there, you realize that you are better inside. And part of the reason is LaPorte can't land that big overhand right when they're in so close.
Does that come down to just pure strength inside and those?
Strength and also technique. And you know what? Both men have shown pretty good technique on the inside. Lopez better technique than you would normally expect from him there.
Reach advantage going to Lopez by 5 inches, but reach has not been a factor in this fight. They've been in each other's shoulders the entire time. Some good body work by Lopez again.
You will see more uppercuts in this match than you will see in 6 others. They are both using that punch very well. I think it's a great punch in boxing, underused.
Yeah, forgotten punch. You wonder with all the infighting, well, more fighters don't use that. Mike Tyson used it quite effectively.
There it is by Lopez.
Round number 4 of a scheduled 10-rounder. Hector Lopez and Juan LaPorte going at it, and this has been the story of the entire almost 12 minutes of action here.
The body work by Lopez has been excellent. Now, sometimes the judges don't give you credit for it, but it will have an impact because it should really slow LaPorte down. Not that he's moving anywhere, don't get me wrong.
We said Juan LaPorte's fought 48 times and never been stopped. Still to come here at the Riv tonight, it's a 10-rounder. It's the undefeated #1 ranked heavyweight Riddick Bowe taking on Everett Bigfoot Martin. Big Daddy Bigfoot coming up 10 rounds here at the River. And our main event, the Quest for Glory, the WBA Cruiserweight Championship. Bobby Chez taking on Donnie Golden Boy Lalonde. Still to come here at the Riv. Stay tuned for all the boxing action. We're only in round number 4 here of Hector Lopez and Juan LaPorte, which has been a very entertaining and very physical matchup. And both fighters have exceeded as far as the physical matchup here. I think Lopez is might be a little bit surprised at the way that LaPorte has handled himself thus far. Toby Gibson is our referee. Hugh Millay, Al Bernstein, and Pedro Fernandez ringside. We are heading into the halfway point of this fight, and very tough to score. We'll be checking in with Pedro Fernandez and his scorecard in just a short time.
They start out on the outside in this round, but remember, almost through the entire 4th round, they fought at very close quarters.
And one of those catch your breath rounds here. How as Lopez turns up the heat just a little bit here.
The question, of course, is can Lopez sustain that on the inside? But now you see, after that round of the body shots and all the rest, you can see the pace of LaPorte slow measurably.
32 years is not old to you and me, Al, but when you've been in the wars he has.
Yeah.
But he's been in, as we mentioned, some real wars, and no matter who you are, they do take their toll over time. But thus far, LaPorte has looked very, very good, and giving Mr. Lopez maybe a little more than he was bargaining for as he pulled in Las Vegas this week.
You could make the case that Juan LaPorte has probably fought the toughest opposition of almost any boxer around today.
Lopez is a good combination. LaPorte, big right hand, and snaps back the head of LaPorte. He is hurt a little bit. He told me this morning, Al, that when he really gets upset is when he does get hurt. That's when he gets really fired up, and LaPorte looks like he almost relishes getting nailed a little bit, and then he gets his mind focused on the fight.
Well, apparently it's not when he gets the other guy hurt, because always in the past, as in this bout, when he had Hector Lopez in trouble, he did not go after him, and he may already be starting to regret that, because it looks like Lopez is more than climbing back into this bout.
Lopez using a 5-inch reach advantage on that combination, not connecting on anything, but certainly taking the offensive. As you mentioned, Al, LaPorte has slowed down considerably from his first good three-round start.
Now there was Juan LaPorte switching to southpaw. He used to do that much more often, and that's the first time we've seen it here tonight.
Pace slowed just slightly here in round number 5 after a furious first 4 rounds. Both fighters obviously in excellent condition, but the pace has been pretty brutal here at the Riv. Boxing returning to the Riviera Hotel Casino for the first time. Oh, big right hand by LaPorte, snaps the head of Lopez. That was the same one that buckled him in the first round.
And now LaPorte putting his punches together, which he didn't do the first time.
Juan LaPorte saying it's not quite over, ladies and gentlemen. I still got something left in this body.
LaPorte always was a good defensive boxer and showing signs of it, blocking a lot of those shots by Lopez.
Big right hand to wrap up that round. I don't think the Lopez corner can be real happy with the turn of events here in the first 5 rounds.
No, well, to a point they were up to this maybe the last minute or so, because now he's getting nailed with some big shots. Lopez has been getting his left hand in. There was the right hand that he would land, the straight right hand, and then they clashed heads there. Uses his head a little bit, does Hector Lopez. Was that from a reminder, a flashback to his prison days when he used to butt those guys?
That's what we say. Let's check in with Pedro Fernandez and his scorecard through 5 of 10.
Well, through 5 rounds, I got the 3rd round even. I gave Juan LaPorte a 1-point margin in the first round. I've got a 48-48, an even fight after 5 rounds.
We're heading into the second half of this scheduled 10-rounder. Juan LaPorte and Hector Lopez, and Pedro has it 48-48.
And this is a close match, make no mistake about it. So
Lopez turning up the heat here to start the sixth round. And certainly the last minute, as Al mentioned, of that round number 5, LaPorte has looked extremely good, and landing that right at the bell got the attention of Hector Lopez. But at the same time, it might break your spirit just a little bit, Al, when you nail somebody like that, like LaPorte has, and a guy just kind of maybe stops his tracks a little bit, but he doesn't really acknowledge it.
Well, and again, we take into account the fact that LaPorte did not follow up as well as he might have. This bout could, the fact that this bout is so close, and I'm sure it is an indication that we may see 3 or 4 shifts in this bout before it's done, especially if it goes 10.
Another big right hand by LaPorte, and that's been there a lot thus far. He's picking up right where he left off in round number 5, and Lopez does look confused.
I think they made a tactical error. After round 4, I think Lopez should have stayed on the inside because he was doing good work in there. And that's not his normal style. No, it's true, but that was what was working for him.
Just have to adjust, and the Lopez corner has not done that. And LaPorte, when he gets outside, that right hand is just coming home.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think Lopez should stay on the inside. But, it's very tough when that's not your normal style. It's like some team that passes all the time. They find they can run. They don't always go to it, do they? That would be football, wouldn't it? Or it could be basketball now that I think about it. One of those sports.
And we saw you on the basketball court over the weekend, Al.
There's a good body shots there by Hector Lopez. And
he has been effective with those. And
that's another thing that he got away from you. He hasn't done it in the last couple rounds much.
Round number 6 of a scheduled 10-rounder, and there are those at ringside who felt this had the earmarks of a 10-rounder when it started, because we mentioned Juan LaPorte has never been stopped, and Hector Lopez not known as a big knockout artist, only 9 of his 21 wins by KO, so pretty much going to form here, but not going to form by many people's thoughts when we didn't think LaPorte had that much left, but he has been very impressive here through 5+ rounds.
Now here again is Lopez on the inside, and this really points to what we were saying. The body work and the uppercuts by Lopez are pretty effective. Now Laporte's doing his share inside, but I think Lopez is doing better.
Lopez trying to, as I said, work inside, and LaPorte taking everything he can give, and this is another tough round to score here. We get a look at the Hector Lopez corner. He's looking a little winded right now as we check in.
Terry Kazanjian there, who we referred to earlier.
Give me the water. I just give it.
This is a critical fight for Hector Lopez. If he could get lost for a long time in the lightweight division should he come up short tonight.
You're gonna shine, okay? I don't know who they got.
And this was a problem for him in the last round. When he was on the outside, LaPorte was able to get the overhand right in. Now that one, LaPorte didn't even have to throw a jab or feint or anything. He just got it in you, and Lopez can't allow that to happen.
Deep breath. Get some oxygen in here. Once more. Come on. Now let it all out. Let it all out.
Hector Lopez, as we mentioned, coming back in December of '91, went 10 rounds there, went 5 back in January, so he's had 15 rounds of boxing, and I'm not knocking the competition, but it hasn't been at the level of a Juan LaPorte. And LaPorte comes right out to start the 7th, throws that big roundhouse right, get things real serious in a hurry here at the Riv.
We now know what works and what doesn't work in this bout, don't we? And I would think both corners know it. LaPorte and his people know that from the outside he can land the overhand right, go to the body like that. And Hector Lopez's corner should know that on the inside, ironically, their man is better. Now, who'd have thunk it? That would not have been the way I would have.
The opposite, yeah. If you get a scouting report on this fight, we'd be way off here. And that's when we're sitting at ringside and not in the corner.
And that's what makes boxing interesting sometimes. And you have to be able to adjust not only here at this seat, but also in the corner. You got to be ready to let your man do the thing that is effective for him.
LaPorte taking a little breather here in round number 7, and Hector Lopez trying to turn up the heat. Lopez just 25 years of age, as we mentioned, 29 months of incarceration, doing time, and he speaks about it quite freely.
I thought that was interesting in that piece, the way he talked about it with you.
He was just open as he could be, and certainly had some comments for Mike Tyson, and the former heavyweight champion incarcerated right now. And Hector says you just got to stay focused, and obviously he came out of it okay and back on the trail right now.
See, Lopez now he's boxing this whole round from the outside. Now he's not doing that badly, but he's not doing as well as he did when he was on the inside.
This was more the Hector Lopez prior to the break.
And has been to some degree since. It just may not be the way to beat LaPorte. Although in this round, he's always susceptible to that, even though that one didn't get there perfectly.
That right hand has been the clicker here. He landed in the first round and buckled Lopez. No knockdown called at that time, but we did see it on replay. That knee did hit the canvas.
LaPorte, though, has really slowed his attack in this round. I mean, he is throwing so many fewer punches than before. And even though most of those didn't land, you know that with Lopez tripling his number of punches, he's probably going to win this round.
You mentioned LaPorte throwing in bunches of 1 right now. And that could be Father Time catching up a little bit here in round number 7. He's a warrior, but at age 32 and 48 fights, it does take its toll at some point in this fight.
And it could be the body punches that Lopez landed so well early, taking some impact. I would think that's one of the things he would really want to get in there and do again, especially at this juncture in a fight when it still can have an impact.
Round number 7 here with some 20 seconds to go. Humalay, Al Bernstein, Pedro Fernandez are ringside here at the Riviera Hotel and Casino. And lightweights, Juan LaPorte and Hector Lopez going a terrific first 7 rounds here. Round 7 pretty much in the books. 3 more to go. You always have to be amazed at the craftiness of a guy like LaPorte. You know, that was definitely a catch-your-breath round, and you almost feel now the 8th round he might be turning up the heat a little bit.
And he may have to.
Why are you giving him the fight?
All right, we're going to take a up-close look at the WBA champion. Bobby Chez has come to the Riv as he takes off his shoes and getting ready for his big matchup. The Quest for Glory WBA Cruiserweight Championship. It's 12 rounds. That man takes on Donnie Golden Boy Lalonde, still to come here at the Riviera Hotel and Casino. A very determined. When this guy gets focused, it's scary, Al.
And Bobby's the only guy who would show up with a briefcase for a boxing match. He's going to make some deals.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. Sometimes you need hosts for press conferences and interviews. Bobby takes care of that himself. One of the most talkative. I think he wakes up in mid-sentence. 8th round, and LaPorte comes out, tries to turn up the heat right away.
Has Bobby ever taken lunch with you or talked to him on the cellular lately? He's a good guy.
Oh, wonderful guy.
Both he and Donnie Lalonde, who will be seeing later.
It was almost like going to a stockbroker convention at the press conference.
Now here is Hector Lopez. Look where he is now, son of a gun, on the inside. Let's see how he does, and let's see if LaPorte can respond. And the quickness of Lopez's hands, we forget that on the inside, if you have quick hands, it's just as good as being outside. And look, see, he is having a field day. No reason for Hector Lopez to not be fighting off the chest of LaPorte. And there he goes to the body again.
Carlos Padilla, certainly, as you mentioned, Al, a guy who does let them fight out of clinches, and thus far it's been to Lopez's advantage of that.
Yeah.
A lot of guys jump right in and yank him, but he's going to let these guys do the in work.
See, it's a very key point you made, and it has a lot of bearing on why Lopez should be on the inside. Now, for Juan LaPorte, from his standpoint, he's allowing this to happen. He's not being forced into this inside fight.
Well, the gas tank might be getting closer to E as well, because you mentioned it in round number 7. We thought that he was really, we get a don't hold. Carlos Padilla admonishing Juan LaPorte for holding. That's a first, I think, right there.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't think he was holding that badly.
We've seen worse.
Boy, have we seen worse.
The infighting continues at midway point of round number 8, and with LaPorte possibly running low on juice. Lopez, at 7 years younger and some 30 fights, maybe feeling a little more in control right now.
Boy, if I was Hector Lopez, I mean, he's doing a pretty good job. I would really concentrate on the body this juncture. You know what this bout could do for Lopez, too. He's not as quick as he used to be. I mean, you just look at him, you see that. He may have to be more of an inside fighter. I mean, look at a guy like Marvin Hagler, who was a boxer till he was about 32 or 33. Of course, we never know his real age at that point. And he really had to become more of a slugger.
I'm not going to ask him, I'll tell you that. Juan LaPorte, Hector Lopez, as we said, the tide of the bout has turned a little bit for the man in the black trunks with the gold trim, Hector Lopez, after a very good 5 to 6 rounds of Juan LaPorte. LaPorte picking his shots right now. Some terrific center ring action here, trading.
This has been an excellent round for Lopez.
That left has not been really effective for Hector Lopez. He's kind of waves it out there. Hector Lopez just one loss, and that was many years ago. This is going to be an extremely difficult fight to score. We check in with the corner of Juan LaPorte.
Stop saying okay and do the damn thing like you know to do. Stop saying okay, you're a pro. Come on, baby, let's go. No, come on, you want it? You have to win this. You want it? You don't want it. Lo quiere o no lo quiere? Si lo quiere, tiene que meter.
Well, Hector Lopez on the inside has been very effective. He took a good right hand from LaPorte, but you see he's a quicker-handed fighter and throws more combinations, and so he does better on the inside there. And boy, if you're not going to respond to Emil Griffith and Miguel Diaz, you're in trouble.
All right, we get a look at the undefeated #1 ranked heavyweight in the world, Riddick Bowe, and there's Papa Smurf, better known as Eddie Futch, a legendary trainer, lacing them up for the undefeated. He is next against Everett Bigfoot Martin, still to come here at the Riviera Hotel and Casino, and we are into round number 9 in a bout that you can pretty much flip a coin to see who would be in charge in this one. Thus far, it has been extremely difficult to score. We'll be checking with Pedro Fernandez as he imparts his wisdom on this matchup, on his scorecard.
I think the key thing for Lopez, though, is he's had a good run here in these last few rounds, and I would think he would be edging ahead at this point.
Round number 9, as we mentioned, Lopez with just one loss, and LaPorte's record not earth-shattering, but and we've mentioned it before, his competition is certainly star mind-boggling. You get the best boxers under 130 pounds. He's fought them all in the past 10 years.
In the NBA or the NHL, he'd be in first place, wouldn't he? With 37-11.
He'd be in the Stanley Cup Finals.
That's right.
He's paced himself very well, has Juan LaPorte. Now the most effective left hook was landed by, not great, but at least it got there. The other one was kind of just waving out there.
Right now, though it's certainly subject to change, Juan LaPorte looks like he is in a survival mode to a point. He's not throwing real big shots, and you can sense a little desperation in his corner in between the last 2 rounds.
Hector Lopez staying focused and a little more in control. It's been a very first 5 or 6 rounds of this fight were fought at a furious pace, and 7, 8, and now into 9 has slowed down just a little bit. As Al mentioned, the fact that LaPorte might be conserving some much-needed energy right now.
The problem for him, of course, is as he conserves, and there's the good body work by Lopez, he's giving away rounds that are vital for him. And the one small error that I think we can say Hector Lopez may be making the last few rounds is not going to the body. I just think that would have hastened the demise of LaPorte. And it's still a close fight. We're not trying to suggest that Lopez is way ahead or anything.
Juan LaPorte has gone 10 or more rounds 24 times in his career. So this is not unfamiliar territory for him. Lopez trying to keep the heat on, and I think he senses that LaPorte is not as much as he was there 4 rounds ago.
And boy, wouldn't Juan LaPorte want now to have that second round knockdown called a knockdown. That extra point could be crucial to him.
Without question, and that's something that will be debated on after this. Left hook lands grazingly as LaPorte backs up.
We may be seeing the last couple of rounds of Juan LaPorte's career, or at least the last couple of rounds in an important match, if he continues this way.
Hector Lopez knew he'd have his hands full. He's hoping for a knockout, but I think we can put that one away. We're going to be heading into round number 10, the final round.
You
Absolutely.
want to fight? You don't want to fight. You want me to throw the towel in?
Definitely in the hands of the judges right now as we have 9 rounds. And then
wait, fight then. I threw the goddamn thing in. Last round.
Emil Griffith is threatening to throw in the towel unless Juan turns up the heat.
I threw the damn thing in.
Might slightly be dramatic, though. I'm not sure he's really going to do that. But it is desperate, I think, for him at this point, or relatively desperate in any case.
This is going to be an extremely difficult fight to score.
Clean punches landed, gentlemen. I've got this fight 88-85 after 9 rounds. I've got Hector Lopez in command, and I think Juan LaPorte, we are seeing the very last of Juan LaPorte, the contender.
Juan LaPorte coming in at age 32. Not old by many people's standards, but a warrior for some 49 fights. This will be the 25th time in his career he's gone 10 or more rounds. And we don't care who you are, that's going to take its toll. I think both fighters have to feel this one way. This round could very well decide this one. We should see some dramatic action here.
Yeah, I would feel like Lopez should have a couple of point edge. However, you never know, do you? And there's an insightful comment for you. You never know, all right?
Where's Yogi when you need him?
That's right. That's what I'm here for, to tell you things like that. You never know.
Like it could be Lou Duva when we bring it into the boxing circles.
That's right.
Lou Duva is boxing's answer to Yogi Berra.
Now Lopez fighting from the outside now in this round, but being equally as effective. And remember, he was on the inside a lot in the last few rounds, doing well. But now Laporte's offense is so minimal that he's been able to do well from the outside also.
You mentioned a survival mode. It almost looks like he is determined not to get knocked down or knocked out.
Which, as you pointed out, he has never been in his pro career. And boy, he's been hit with some shots, hasn't he?
Yeah, when I saw the tape of the Sanchez fight, I was like, I think he could have handed Sanchez a chair at ringside, and I don't think Laporte is going to go down in that one. Chavez hit him with some huge shots as well.
Not to mention Azuma Nelson, Gomez.
Yeah, I mentioned Gomez. Gomez, jeez. I guess it'll be tough to intimidate this guy, but Hector Lopez turning this fight around, we feel, in mid-range, about the 6th, 7th, and 8th, and might have enough to pull this one out.
And really, when you think back to that second round, remember how hurt Lopez really was. It wasn't that he was just rocked a little.
No.
He was hurt, and Laporte couldn't take advantage of it. Now, if Padilla would take a point away now from Lopez, it could be very damaging to him. I'd really hate to see Carlos take a point away from either boxer at this point. It would really inject something in this match that I think is unneeded.
It's been a terrific fight. We're heading into the last 60 seconds or so of this one. Hector Lopez and Juan LaPorte, and Pedro mentioned we might be seeing the last seconds of the legendary Juan LaPorte, or at least, as Al mentioned, maybe the last important fight that he has. He might just be transformed into the unknown opponent category. Lopez fighting as though he feels he's got this fight, Al.
Yeah, I think he feels that this last rush, and you can make a strong case that Lopez may have won the last 4 rounds, or certainly the last 3, and if that's true, in a pretty close 10-round fight, that should get you victory.
Always good to finish strongly, and Lopez has done that. Although
nice hook by LaPorte.
LaPorte coming on here in the last 15 seconds, might have saved a little too much.
Lopez leaving his hands very, very low.
Getting a little sloppy here. We're inside 5 seconds. Carlos pulls him apart for the last time. And his first bout here is now in the hands of the judges, and we do not want to know exactly. We will not want that job right now.
No, and I think that the finishing rush, though, by Hector Lopez should have been sufficient for him to win this match. And, you know, it was not, I don't think you would term this a brilliant performance, but it was not a bad performance by Hector Lopez, and he did get done what he wanted to get done.
And he made the adjustments to and from. Let's check in with Pedro Fernandez and his scorecard.
Well, after 10 rounds, I've got it 98-95 for Hector Lopez. I scored the 10th round even. Juan LaPorte did come on in the last 35, 40 seconds of the round. But all in all, I thought it was a great performance for Hector Lopez. He is back now, 22-1, I think, as a pro.
Pedro Fernandez giving the nod to Hector Lopez after a very impressive start by Juan LaPorte. We'll be, of course, checking in with the winner of this fight. And whoever that might be, Pedro feels very strongly it will be Hector Lopez. Still to come, of course, is the heavyweight tussle between Everett Bigfoot Martin and Riddick Big Daddy Bowe. 29-0 is Riddick Bowe, and Everett Bigfoot Martin coming off a 10-round loss to a very hard-hitting Michael Moore, where he floored Michael Moore. As we can look at Juan LaPorte, and he looks like he is feeling pretty confident himself, looking at Stan Hoffman, his promoter. We take a look. Waiting for the judges to turn their scorecard over to Jimmy Lennon Jr. Terrific 10 rounds of action as the legendary Juan LaPorte and Hector Lopez await the judges' decision. And I believe we have Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 10 rounds of boxing, we have a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Judge at ringside, Paul Smith, scores the bout 97-93. Chuck Jompa and Bill Graham both score the bout 96-94. All three in favor of the winner, Hector El Torero Lopez.
Hector Lopez, very similar to the card you had, Pedro. Only a point or two off, but the fight turning about in the 4th and 5th round then.
The fight did turn in the 4th and 5th round, but straight up, Hector Lopez is a good fighter. Juan LaPorte is on the downslide. He really looked a little fat today. I mean, people say he was in good shape, but his body fat content was very high, I thought. I'm probably up about 18-19%. He did not look good tonight physically.
And fighting 12 pounds over his most effective weight of 126, although he looked in shape to the average bean, but to our resident fitness nut, Pedro Fernandez, saying he body fat, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to bring that into the equation right now. Still to come, Riddick Bowe, Everett Bigfoot Martin. Of course, the main event, the Quest for Glory. That is Bobby Ches and, of course, Donnie Golden Boy Lalonde. That's a 12-rounder WBA Cruiserweight Championship. And that is our main event here at the hotel, the Riviera Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. We're going to throw it up to Al Bernstein and the victorious Hector Lopez for the interview.
Hector Lopez, who did what you had to do. First of all, how hurt were you in that second round when he knocked you down? Actually, your knee did touch, even though they didn't call it a knockdown. How hurt were you at that point?
It was a flash. It caught me off balance. He hit me with a good shot, but I came up immediately. You know, it wasn't like if I was hurt or anything. It was just, you know, early in the fight, things happen.
That was where you were stunned a little bit, but you were able to come back. I thought the interesting thing is you are a boxer who likes to stay on the outside, and yet you were very effective on the inside.
Well, you see, as my comeback, I'm a lot stronger. So, like I said before the fight, to my corner, LaPorte's a strong fighter, and that's his basic. He's good, right? But when he ran up against me, he ran up against the wall because I'm really exceptionally more stronger now than before I left. And that was proven today.
Well, you did prove it. Harry, what about this infighting by him? Could this be a style that he would stick with a little bit?
Yes, it works for him. So we're going to work a little more at the gym, see if we can get little movements, a little more, and whatever it works. I was telling him to go inside and work because he was winning the fight inside as well as outside.
All right, congratulations to you, Hector. Good win for you.
Thank you. I'd like to say, Gordon Wheeler, my trainer, who couldn't be here today. This one was for you, and I have everybody back home.
All right, congratulations. And now let's send things back down to ringside, where we have Mole getting ready.
Thank you, Al, very much, as we're going to be now joined by the president of the Riviera Hotel Casino here at ringside, Al Rapiano. And Al, it's a pretty big night here for you. First time in some 6 years that World Championship Boxing is back. You got to be very excited about that.
We are. We're really excited. This is the return to boxing to the Riviera. The first time in 6 years. We've done some great fights in the past. This is a great event for us to kick off our return to the Riviera, boxing at the Riv, and we're looking at many, many more fights here.
The crowd is very substantial here.
Yes.
You got to be excited about that. You have a pay-per-view audience out there. It's a great promotional aspect for this entire casino. It's been a wonderful host job by your people.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Momentum Productions and Banner Promotions really have done a great job working with us and our staff. We're excited because it's not only pay-per-view, but it's going to 36 other countries around the world.
The Riviera will, it appears to be a major player in the coming months and years on the strip here for big boxing. What's the allure for Las Vegas in boxing?
Well, you know, there's no other city in the world like Las Vegas, and I think that sports and gaming have always gone hand in hand. And the thing about Las Vegas is that we certainly have all of the infrastructure to bring many people from all over the world to Las Vegas. We've got the weather, we've got over 60,000 first-class hotel rooms, got a lot of fine facilities here in Las Vegas, and gaming just belongs here. We are the boxing capital of the world. We've been challenged in the past, but we are and we will remain the boxing capital of the world.
How often can boxing fans and people in Las Vegas and across the country and the world expect to see the Riviera hosting a major event like this?
We're looking at certain of these events on a case-by-case basis, but it appears that we will do championship series from the Riviera beginning in July, once each month. We've got the room set up, our convention center, for 4,000 people, and as you can tell, we're at a full house capacity this evening. So we're really excited about boxing being at the Riviera.
You always like to come back with a splash in this town, and it appears you have.
Well, you know, there's two more great events. Riddick Bowe and Everett Bigfoot Martin are next, and followed by the championship event with Bobby Ches and Donnie Lalonde. I'd like to say that Bobby Ches and Donnie Lalonde have really taken their training seriously. They've really been very disciplined, very focused, and I know they're both looking forward to the main event, as all the fans are, and certainly we are. Again, I wanted to mention that we're happy about momentum. We're happy about Banner, certainly Rock and Sock, and we're happy that the Riviera is part of this exciting event. We've got certainly a lot of things going on at the Riviera. We do have, if I can put in a commercial plug.
Go ahead.
We've got, in addition to our 2,100 rooms and 14 restaurants, we do have, we are sort of the entertainment center of Las Vegas. We've got 4 major showrooms here in Las Vegas, but particularly our Splash production show in our Versailles Theater. It is the show of the year. It's the 4th time in a row that we've been so nominated, and we're really excited about it. So in addition to entertainment and fine weather, and of course all the gaming that we have available, certainly boxing goes hand in hand with what we're trying to do at the Riv.
You came back with a splash. Al, pleasure.
Thanks.
Hope to see you in the future months.
Okay.
All right. Al Rapuano, that of course is the president of the hotel here, the Riviera Hotel and Casino. Still to come here as